Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 83. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you for sharing your time with me today. Time is our greatest asset, and the fact that you are willing to invest and share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. Today, as always, I want to bring to your attention some things that I'm witnessing in my conversations with clients across the country and in many of the rooms that I'm presenting at and teaching right now as to what I see as a potential pitfall or what might be happening in your world and you're not even aware that it's happening. And, it goes in alignment with how we here at Rethink really believe your thoughts and beliefs are going to drive your results. So I want to talk today about distractions that are disguised as productive activities, and they happen quite often. So what do I mean by distractors? I will tell you, in my world, this has become the biggest distractor. And not only has this become the biggest distractor, also social media has become a potential pitfall for me as well, just as a human being. We listen for beeps and vibration and alerts and notifications and all kinds of things with our phones. And there's even times when it doesn't happen, but you think you heard it and you go and you check your phone. That's, to me, one of our biggest distractors. And if you think about it, on my laptop, I've got the ability to see text messages that come in. I've got the ability to see notifications. I've got calendar alerts. I have a lot of things that can go on my laptop while I'm doing work that can pull me away and distract me, pull my attention to something other than the activity that I'm doing. Now, normally I'd say, is that a big deal? And what I will tell you is what I've witnessed is when it does pull you away from the activity you're currently doing, it's most likely because the activity that you're currently doing is something that is not one of your favorite things to do or not something that you're super comfortable with. And your brain is looking for any excuse to go find something better and different to do, yet it wants to make you feel good about things. It will make you feel like you're busy doing really productive things when the reality of it is it's really just a distractor. Usually what ends up distracting you are extremely low priority tasks. And they are things that should get done, necessarily not by you, yet they should get done. And they certainly should not get done in that moment. Yet it's a distractor, but it makes us feel busy. So we feel less, I don't want to say guilty, but less critical of ourselves because we were doing something creative or something that needed to be done. So an example, as I sit here at my desk, I've got a couple plants around my office, and I caught myself doing this last week. I have a watering schedule for the plants. It's fine. And I looked over and I was like, gosh, that plant looks really dry. I should probably water it right now. Got up, went to get the water for the plant, watered the plant. That turned into, my desk is a little messy. I should get it organized. It'll help me concentrate more, which turned into a 30-minute project and some filing. And before I knew it, I was very busy with something that distracted me. It started with the plant, and the plant turned into getting water. Getting the water and watering the plant turned into noticing my desk was a little disorganized. Organizing my desk turned into, I need to create a couple file folders, which kept me going in a busy direction. Yet it really took up almost an hour of the time that I had set aside to do a different activity. So those are examples of distractors. There's plenty of others. It could be another human being in your household. It could be the TV. It could be music. It can be a lot of different things. But just keep in mind, distractors are typically low priority activities. The other thing that distractors are brilliant at doing is they give you instant gratification. I mean, it took me a minute to water my plant, and then I watered the rest of them as well. But it took me just a minute to do that. But I felt really good because I could check a box, check a task was being done. And so those distractors tend to be things that are going to give you the instant gratification, which releases a little bit of that feel-good hormone, the dopamine that makes you feel accomplished. And so there is a psychological appeal to distractors. You just have to be aware of them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we move on. So, what I would invite you to do is pay attention to your common distractors. Again, cell phone could be one, music can be another, social media, whatever it is. Just pay attention to the things that seduce you into doing something other than the task at hand and really become time wasters instead of doing the valuable activity. The thing about distractors that are kind of tricky is that there is an illusion of productivity. And again, not only can you check the box off and you get some instant gratification from it, but you really believe you're moving forward in your goals. Like I felt really congruent with my belief that once I cleared my desk, that project I was working on was just going to be so much easier for me to do because my creativity wouldn't be stifled by all the distractions on my desk, which was funny because the distraction really was the behavior, not what was on the desk. So pay attention and know that there is an illusion of productivity typically associated with the distractor. Like watering the plant while it's keeping it alive, right? That made me feel good. Organizing the desk created more space for me to be creative. So it was told to me. And it really can be hard to realize that it is an illusion. It's not the reality. It's an illusion that you're being productive. It's really not the truth. Yes, I was productive in getting stuff filed, but I was really not productive in the task at hand. So pay attention. Again, this happens at times when you might be overwhelmed, or you might be doing a task that's difficult, or a task that you don't particularly enjoy yet needs to be done. So for my real estate agent friends out there, might be lead generation, where we find the biggest distractors happening. Then there's this funny word that I always, when people say it, I think they're just trying to be fancy, but it's really part of this whole distractor thing, and that's cognitive dissonance. And when what that really means is it occurs when your actions don't align with your beliefs. Okay. It's when we believe the importance of completing a project, yet we go off on tangents and do other things. So, for example, I have several groups that I meet with throughout the month. And those groups require me being prepared with material and content. And it's really important for me to show up at 100%. They're paying money to be part of our programs, and they're coming to me to learn or to hear of a different way of doing things. So it's really, really important. And my beliefs are there because I love helping people out. Yet the distractor will have me doing something else, which is in direct conflict to my true belief. I mean, I really do believe that it's my responsibility to show up at 100%. But when I go water a plant or organize my desk or go to do something with the internet or get on social media because I just need a break, that is in direct opposition of what my true belief is. So pay attention when that is happening. You'll notice you feel a little out of sync with things in your life or with your business that you know you should be doing and you're just not. That's the cognitive dissonance. So I always, again, when people drop that word, I'm like, they're trying to be fancy. Yet it really is an important part about how a distractor can get you out of alignment with your beliefs. If I allow enough distractors to come in, could I show up for those group programs without a lot of preparation? I could. Do I have enough coaching chops to work my way through an hour and a half presentation? I could. Yet that's not in alignment with my beliefs, that I show up at 100%, that I have practiced until I can't get it wrong, that if my laptop crashed and all of my notes and my PowerPoint presentation and all of that were gone, that I could still give a powerful presentation. Those are my true beliefs. If I allowed the distractors to just say, you know what, you can do this, you know enough, you've coached for 15 years, you've got a lot of experience, you're going to be fine. The other thing that can happen with the cognitive dissonance is the brain really does a good job of justifying the distraction because you feel productive in the moment. I mean, I felt great. My desk was the cleanest it's been in a while. I had file folders created that I've been wanting to create. Yes, I still do paper and I have files. Not everything in my life is electronic. And I really felt pretty good about it until about an hour later passed that I was like, there's a tinge of guilt associated with it because I knew I wasn't showing up for the project in my best way possible. So you may have a little hit of feeling good, and then it can quickly turn on you to a little bit of guilt because you'll realize that it was just a distraction. And again, not in alignment with your true beliefs. This is probably one of the biggest things that I would say pay attention to. As much as I make fun of it, just the terminology, it really is something that happens often. I think about the cognitive dissonance sometimes of, I have my day planned out and I get a call from somebody that is local that wants to grab a cup of coffee because they're having a rough day, or they just want to hang out together, or they just want to go grab a afternoon drink. And I know I should say no. I know I should. Yet my brain starts to justify, well, what if I could help them out? And that's what friends do. And we just go and we do it. So I leave and I dismiss everything that was in my calendar for the rest of the day. In the moment that I'm having a drink, I may feel pretty good, or I'm meeting that client for coffee, I may feel pretty good. And then when I'm done, there is a tinge of guilt that, I dishonored myself and dishonored my day. For me, when I do this now, the awareness happens really quick. I rarely allow someone to be that interference, yet that is part of this cognitive dissonance that can happen because we feel compelled to want to go out with somebody for lunch or go out for somebody for a coffee. And it's really, truly just your brain seducing you into doing something else, which later it will then make you feel guilty about doing that. So pay attention to those distractors that are really in direct correlation or directly lining up against your beliefs of what you should be doing. Now, there's this other thing that can cause distractors to seem really, really great, and that's emotional triggers. Things can happen that will trigger a welcoming of a distractor. So we've talked about this in other podcasts, but I want you to think about it as a distractor. Fear of failure can be a distractor, right? If you're working on a project and you are doing something you've never done before, and you have this moment where you're like, but what if all this stuff that I'm doing is for naught because I am failing or I'm going to fail? So there is fear of failure, which can cause a distraction. And your brain, again, does a great job of, well, you might fail. Why don't you go do something that you know for sure will be a win? And that's a better use of your time. It's an emotional trigger. Fear of success, same thing, just opposite, right? We might be afraid of what happens if we succeed. And so our brain just wants us to go back to something we've done before that we have succeeded at, but we know how to handle. So pay attention to that. Perfectionism, that's another distractor. My old coach used to say this, perfect will make you poor. And he wasn't wrong, because perfectionism, you want to put things off until the sun, the moon, the stars all align perfectly, and that you can do things at, a certain level. There's rarely anything that's perfect. And so perfectionism is, again, just your little unconscious mind's way of creating a distraction for you that makes you feel good about not doing something. I want to do it right. I want to do it at 100%. I need to be at my best. And the sun's not quite shining right. And my skylight's putting a little more light on my forehead, which I'm noticing. And I want to stop the podcast and go and change everything. You just accept the fact that perfection is not where it's at. And it truly is. Perfect can make you poor because it serves as a huge distractor. Overwhelm is another trigger that can happen that can cause us to look for a distraction. If I get overwhelmed, sometimes I'm looking for something really, really simple to do just so I can feel in control and I feel a little less out of overwhelm. So those are some emotional triggers that can move us into believing that the activity we're doing is the right activity versus the activity that we should be doing because it's a distraction. So emotional triggers can be a distraction. Now, if you're feeling any of these, right? If you're feeling, if you're feeling those emotional triggers and, perfectionism, all of those things, if you're having those feelings, overwhelm, rather than a distraction, there are some really healthy coping mechanisms that you can implement in the moment that it's happening. So especially for overwhelm, or let's say you're stuck in a mode of it's got to be perfect, and I got to do this today, but it's not perfect. You can I would rather you take a moment and back up and become mindful. to maybe do a breathing exercise or do a brief physical activity, like go take a quick walk to the mailbox and back. Just clear your head, get out into the air, get out and breathe, see the sunshine, do something that can calm your mind a little bit. But it is not, I don't want you to confuse this as a distractor. This really is more to help you manage the emotional part of it, of things, and to calm your brain down to get you back on track. It is not a distractor. So don't want you to think about it as, well, I should be doing this project, but I'm going to go meditate for 30 minutes. No, I'm only going to stop the project if I'm really in a place of overwhelm or I'm really struggling with it because I don't feel it's 100% and or I've got this fear of failure. I am going to take a moment, maybe meditate or journal or pray or go for a walk, quick little walk, just to clear my mind. Now, the other thing about distractions and distractors is we firmly believe that we can multitask, that I can still do that project and do something else. And it's really, really dangerous that when we multitask, it actually can reduce your productivity by up to 40%. So the main project that you're working on is going to suffer when you're starting to give your attention and energies to other things, distractions, and you're doing multiple things at one time. And that really can harm you in the long run. But again, your brain's going to feel really good because look at all of the things I'm getting done. And I will tell you, I used to be a great multitasker. I thought I was, until it was really brought to my attention that you're really not as productive. And if you focus time on a single task at a time, it takes less time to get it done, and you're getting it done at a higher level. So do not allow multitasking, which is a form of a distraction, to enter your world. It will harm your productivity. It just will. It will reduce your productivity again up to about 40%. And we don't want that. We want to be showing up. So I know for myself, like I said, I used to believe I could be a great multitasker, and I really stopped myself now. I've shared with you all before that I do have a bit of shiny object syndrome. I've never been officially diagnosed by a doctor about ADHD, but I do have what a lot of entrepreneurs have, and that is getting distracted by shiny objects and wanting to do multiple things at a time. And so I'm just going to invite you to be aware of that and stop and do what you might do, what I do, which is that Pomodoro technique we've talked about, where I will do a focused activity for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, go back to the activity for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Or if I'm done in 25 minutes, take the 5-minute break, switch to a different activity. But I keep it clean. I don't do two activities in one 25-minute chunk of time. I just do one thing for 25 minutes, get it done, and then take a 5-minute break and either move on to another activity or continue with the activity that I'm doing. I have shared this, and I will tell you that one change that I've made in my schedule by doing the Pomodoro technique has had a dramatic impact on my productivity. I will get more done in that 25 minutes than if I blocked an hour of time to do it. It's just how my brain works. It may not be for you, but I'm going to invite you to think about it. If you're finding yourself wanting to multitask, this is a great way to get out of that because you're singular focused, 25 minutes, get it done. It's a sprint, it's over, move on to the next or continue it after your 5-minute break. So other strategies you can use other than like the Pomodoro technique is a plan to know that there's going to be distractors that show up in your day. I always joke around and say it's like an uninvited dinner guest. You know, you have dinner for 6 friends coming over, and somebody either brings somebody by surprise or calls 20 minutes before and says, "Oh, my friend came over. Do you mind if I bring them?" Right? And now you're forced to kind of deal with it. Well, that's a distraction. And so just know that throughout your day, you're going to have moments of uninvited dinner guests showing up in your world. And we have to be aware of what to do to handle it. So for me, one of the best things, again, is the Pomodoro, right? That's a form of time blocking for me. That's a form of scheduling for me. And believe it or not, I have times in my schedule built in for admin, for focus time. I've got different time chunks built into my schedule. So if I know that I've got some time for admin or other activities and something has come up that wasn't in my day, I can calm my brain and say, you know what, that's great. And I've got time today at 1 o'clock that I can deal with that. And I'm not going to even give it any energy until 1 o'clock when my schedule allows for me to deal with admin or any, other activities can fall in there. And that's when I'll deal with it. And that really keeps the distractions down, because what we want to do is run wild with the distraction, try to solve it, try to figure out what it's going to look like, what we're going to do. So again, time blocking for the unknown is also important to do in your schedule, because stuff happens. Life is not static, thank God, because if it was, we probably wouldn't be alive, right? And so just know that time blocking can help. Setting boundaries sounds really simple, yet it's a great distraction blocker. So, have clear boundaries. So for me, like right now, I have turned off all notifications on my laptop, because that's what I'm using to record this podcast. I will turn off my phone, not put it on vibrate and turn it over upside down. I will turn it off, because I will hear it vibrate, or I'll hear a noise, I'll hear a beep, whatever. So you can either turn your notifications off, or if you're like me, I just have to turn it off and know that it's off, and it will be silent for me. So setting some boundaries really helps. The other thing that I did for a while, and it's hard because sometimes technology, you have to do certain things on your phone that you can't do on your laptop. I removed some apps that were true distractors for me that weren't on my phone, and they were only on my laptop. And so that is another help in setting some boundaries. You can set timers. If social media is a challenge, you can set a screen time timer. You can really set some strict guidelines for it, but boundaries can also apply to people. When I talked about earlier, to get that phone call as an entrepreneur, if I took a 2-hour lunch instead of a 1 hour, nobody's going to know but me, right? But if I set some boundaries, and I don't know why it is people that view us as entrepreneurs think that, we just have this schedule to do whatever the heck we want to do. I've had to set some boundaries with friends that I'm just not available during the day. It's no different than if I worked at a corporation. I'm just not available. So having some boundaries with technology and people can be a great thing. Accountability is another great way to help you manage your distractors. I've shared this with you, and I'm going to share it again. I have a daily win the day report that I do for myself at the end of the day. And so every day, the last thing that I do is I look at the critical activities that were on my schedule for the day, and I make sure that I did them. And if I didn't, I will rate myself on that. But what I know is at the end of the day, I got to be accountable to me. And I know that when I do that scorecard, it really annoys the heck out of me when I haven't completed a critical task. And so that works for me. In the beginning, when I was first starting to use the win the day checklist, I would do it at noon. So I would do it right before I went to lunch, because that was a huge accountability piece. My heavy lifting activities are typically done by noon. And because your willpower is the strongest in the morning. And so for me, I would look at that win the day sheet before I allowed myself to go to lunch. And if I was behind, I still had several hours that afternoon to get back on track. That was my form of accountability. The other form of accountability that I have is I have multiple coaches. And as a coach, I think it's really important for myself to also have coaches. And so there's a big accountability piece in that. And then you could use your family, or you could use an accountability partner if you are not in the position to have a coach, or if you're not your own best accountability partner, you might want to find somebody that you can have those conversations with. So accountability is really important when you're wanting to wade through the distractors and get really focused on and have the best use of your time. Also, part of this journey of eliminating distractions is really just paying attention to your mindset. Most of us who are entrepreneurs are really good salespeople. I don't care what role you're in right now in your company, but most of us started off doing everything, including sales. And I say this all the time, we're great salespeople, and we are really good at selling ourselves on things that are not true. So we're really good about negotiating with ourselves. Do not allow yourself to negotiate on the fact that your busyness was what you needed to do and that it was really transformative. It's not. It's fine to get things done, but if it's not getting the critical tasks done, pay attention. Do not allow your mindset to be in a place of, well, I was busy. Hold the course and really pay attention. Personal reflection is another great thing to do when I feel myself moving into a position of distraction. I just stop and really focus on why. What is my ultimate goal? Is, watering the plant really the big goal for the day? No. And I reflect on why I'm making those choices. And I use the thought model, which again, 2 episodes are episode 1 and episode like 71 or 72 are about the thought flow model. I will do that when I'm allowing myself to get distracted because there's some thought that is keeping me from taking action. And when I can clear that up, the distractors go away. So keeping in mind also that long-term vision and what the impact is on yourself, your friends and family, your team, and your legacy can help you eliminate some of those distractors. So team, we live in a world full of distractions between notifications, social media, DMs, emails, cell phone calls. A lot of distractions come our way, news alerts, all kinds of things. Pay attention to the distractions and realize that they are not serving you if they're taking away from the main activity that you should be doing for the day, that moment in time. And they usually are in direct conflict with your beliefs. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do to have the impact, the positive impact when you hit those goals. And the distractors are going to be in direct opposition of your beliefs. So pay attention. Distractions are everywhere. It is one of the things that can sneak up on you and then stay with you for a while. Like if you're not dealing with what it is about that project that's you're allowing distractions to happen, there's something going on with that project usually. So you might want to spend some time just dealing with your mindset, your beliefs, and your thoughts to get that cleared up, to dismiss the distractors. Hope this helped you out. I know just being a human being and being in the time that we live, we have a lot of data coming at us and a lot of distractions coming at us. And it's really easy to slide into the distractors, thinking that you're doing something really important when you're really harming yourself in your business. As always, if you've got any questions about this or anything else, reach out to me, Tony@rethinkcoaching.com, or you can find me on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook. You can DM me. You can go to our website, rethinkcoaching.com, or you can fill out a little information box with your name, your cell phone, and I will send you a link directly into my calendar where you can reserve a 1-hour free strategy session with me about this topic or anything else. I'm always here to help you out. I want you to be able to live your best life and get to those goals and make it happen. So never hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help you out. Go make it a great week full of no distractions. Take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.